Hey folks, welcome to my brand new video series, Let's Talk, the place where I give you my opinion on all things entertainment. I'm Traumatized Ewok, and today we're looking at the Battlefield 6 beta. This is my first foray into this kind of video, so please bear with me. And if you have any constructive feedback, do leave it in the comments. It will all be appreciated. All the things I say are just my opinion, and I know that not everyone will agree, but that's the great thing about entertainment. It's subjective. Your opinion is just as valid as mine. So, without further ado, let's talk Battlefield 6 beta. With the gathering of a bunch of FPS content creators from a wide range of games from Escape from Tarkov to Call of Duty and everything in between in LA a few weeks ago, DICE revealed the Battlefield 6 multiplayer and let those creators get hands-on. And from what we saw from those creators, Battlefield looked like it might just be a return to form. But a question remained, one that could only be answered by getting hands-on with the game myself. Are we really back? Before we dive into it, let me give you my Battlefield credentials. My first introduction into Battlefield franchise came back in 2005 with Battlefield 2, more specifically Battlefield 2 Modern Combat on the original Xbox, and then on the Xbox 360. I wasn't a PC gamer at the time, so this was my only way of trying out the Battlefield franchise, and I got hooked. From the campaign and the hot swapping feature, which was the ability to literally take control of any friendly unit that you could see on the battlefield, something I don't recall seeing in any other FPS since, but please do correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, to the multiplayer. My best friend and I would play multiplayer every chance we got, and there were a lot of chances and a lot of memorable moments. From this point, I knew I preferred Battlefield over any other FPS. I played through Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2, 1943, Battlefield 3, and I even have a few hours in Hardline, but please don't come at me for that one. And my friend and I have hundreds of hours in Battlefield 4 on both PC and on console. But since then, whilst myself and the rest of the Ewoks have played the more recent Battlefield games, something has been missing. It hasn't had the same hold on me. Battlefield 1 was a good game and I enjoyed it. The same with Battlefield 5, but neither of them kept me coming back for game after game. And then Battlefield 2042 cut the cord completely. Its lack of destructible environments and class system and a focus on a hero-style operators just didn't feel like Battlefield anymore. I played for a short while, but I've only ever gone back to slaughter bots with the Ewoks. The franchise has lost something that special that made it Battlefield. This brings us to the Battlefield 6 beta. And what I was hoping for is a return to form, a return to destructible environments, a return to the class-focused system that gave every player a role to play on the battlefield. And I have to say, after putting in close to 30 hours over the 4 days I had access, playing solo and in squads, 30 hours which included 3 streams and a Sunday afternoon chilling with the Ewoks, and completing all of Weekend 1's challenges, overall, I'm very happy. But that doesn't mean there aren't some things I'd like to see DICE address between now and launch. But let's start with the positives. The game looks beautiful. I was playing on Xbox Series X in 4K, and even on my monitor, which unfortunately doesn't have HDR, I was blown away with the visuals. The soldier and weapon and vehicle models look great, and in the midst of the battle with shrapnel and smoke flying everywhere, the game looked and felt like Battlefield. The movement for me feels great too. It felt intentional and direct. At no point did I feel like my soldier was heavy or cumbersome. The only time I had an issue was occasionally getting caught on a strange bit of terrain, but that happens in most games. Frustrating when it happens, but really no big deal. Now I'm going to preface my next positive with the following statement. I'm not a great player, but I can usually hold my own. I'm mostly finished with a positive KD in Battlefield, but the gunplay felt solid straight from the off. I didn't spend any time playing with my settings, opting to give the first weekend a try with just the defaults, and honestly, I couldn't find much, if anything, to complain about with regards to the weapon handling. I felt like I was able to shoot pretty accurately, and recoil was easy to adjust to and control on all the weapons I tried. Aim assist on controller is there, but it didn't feel too overpowered, like it can in some games, doing just enough to assist without feeling like it was taking control. I think with a little bit of dialing in for weekend 2, and as long as too much doesn't change by the time the full release comes around on October 10th, I can only see myself being more and more content with it. The next positive for me, the class system being back, even if it was with a bit of a twist in the open playlists. The twist being that any class could use any weapon, but each class has a specific type of class weapon. So support have LMGs as their class weapon, recon having snipers, engineer the SMGs, and assault the assault rifles. Using your class specific weapon, you gain the class specific trait. Using a different weapon, you lose the trait. I know everyone has different views on this, but I actually like that it gives the freedom to play your own style while still providing what your chosen class is supposed to do to the team. If this wasn't your thing, you could just play the closed conquest playlist, which some people did. Next is the MVP of the positives for me, the drag revive feature. Grabbing your down teammates and dragging them into cover in order to revive them came in clutch in so many situations. Made it feel like you're in the thick of it. At times I'd look around and see other players doing it, and it almost looks cinematic in the chaos of the battlefield. I love this. My next positive comes with a caveat as well, and that is the maps. It was great to see some urban settings with Siege of Cairo and Iberian Offensive providing some great close quarters gunfights in streets lined with defensive blockades and cover. The closeness brought an extra level of danger, as turning any corner could have you facing a squad of enemies pushing through. And the destruction made it feel like the combat was taking its toll on the environment. Liberation Peak was more open and gave snipers more of an opportunity to affect the flow of the game, providing them with plenty of height and long range to spot enemies and provide overwatch for teams. If I was being honest, Liberation Peak Conquest felt closer to the Conquest I enjoyed in Battlefield 4. And it was the only map with air vehicles, helicopters and jets, and let me tell you, the sound of a jet ripping past at low altitude was incredible. The caveat on the maps I'll come to when we go over the negatives. So to recap the positives, the game looks incredible. Movement and gunplay felt great. The class system returns, but with a twist. The drag revive feature is amazing. And the maps in the beta are good. And so we come to the negatives. As soon as we ended with the maps and the positives, let's pick back up with that caveat. The maps weren't all that big. At least not as big as most Battlefield veterans would hope for the Conquest mode. Liberation Peak was the biggest map, and it felt as close to the old Conquest experience as the beta got. Siege of Cairo and Iberian Offensive, whilst good and having plenty of routes to objectives, felt very small. In fact, you could run from one end to the other within a minute. And it felt more difficult to find quiet routes into objectives to catch the opposing team out and draw them away from other objectives. The maps essentially became meat grinders, which helped with quick match times, but quick match times is not what Conquest is about. Now, this was just the opening weekend beta, so who knows what maps they have in store for us at the full release. But I know that I'm not alone in hoping for some bigger theatres for us to wage war. Next up is a little thing, but I found it a tad frustrating. I couldn't change my weapon fire mode without being aimed down sight. Personally, I'd love the ability to do this as I'm moving around so that I can have whatever fire mode I feel I need ready for ADS. Feedback for some actions felt like a big issue for me as well, in terms of figuring out if my action actually worked. This ranged from reviving down teammates with a defib to marking up objectives. I always found myself having to double or triple check. With the same pinging of enemies, sometimes it just would not work. Again, I'm hopeful that these are just hiccups in the beta which will be ironed out for launch. My next negative is bugs and glitches. Now, before anyone comes at me in the comments, I know that this is a beta and this is what it's meant to find. But things like smoke grenades not popping or placeable barriers disappearing into the ground were a regular occurrence and a little frustrating when it got you killed. I'm sure that devs will be all over these in the coming weeks, so I'm not putting too much weight on this frustration. It was just part of my beta experience. Next negative, sniper glint. There is way too much of it. Just popping your head out of cover for a second, you could see star constellations of sniper glint. I'm actually of the thought that you should only see the glint if they're aiming in your general direction, and it definitely shouldn't be as bright as it is. The devs have already heard this complaint from multiple players, and I think they'll have it toned down for release, so I won't have to consider asking them for a 5th class, the astronomer. The last of my negatives has nothing to do with the gameplay and is definitely something that is about personal preference. I did not like the main menu interface. It just felt like I was using a streaming service. So, Map sizes are a concern. Changing fire modes was frustrating. Some feedback issues, some bugs and glitches. Sniper glints and the menu UI all come up in the negatives for me. I know it may seem like I have just as many negatives as positives from my time with the beta, but actually they were all rather minor things and could be addressed well before the launch on October 10th. So as I said at the beginning, overall I came away from the weekend feeling like Battlefield is back. Bugs, glitches and minor frustrations aside, I had an absolute blast. And I found myself smiling the whole time I played it, appreciating the times that I was outplayed and outgunned as much as the times that I came out on top. And once myself and all the Ewoks were on together, it felt like old times. It felt like the Battlefield I knew and loved again. I asked my best buddy, and the reason I'm traumatized, the Ewok fondler, to give me a paragraph of his thoughts on the beta, and here's what he sent me. Battlefield 6. After the letdown of Battlefield 2042, I was very wary of getting my hopes up with Battlefield 6. Having said that, even watching the trailer sparked my interest. It was great to see how they had brought it back to the Modern Warfare setting without all the nonsense that had ruined 2042. Jumping into the beta, I was instantly impressed even just with the look of the game. Very smooth and amazing detail. After deciding support would be my class of choice, I was surprised to see how convenient it has become to revive people. Being able to drag them out of danger is a great move. This is something that's been missing from previous games. Loadouts are easy to navigate, and a handy new feature of being able to try it out in the shooting range is great. There's nothing worse than waiting until you're in game to try out a new weapon. Overall, I'm very pleased by this game. There's one I've already pre-ordered. If I had to list problems with the game, I can only think of two. The helicopters are a lot harder to control than they ever used to be. Looking back to Battlefield 4, they were easy to control and the controls were quite intuitive. And two, the biggest problem with this new Battlefield is I have to wait months until I can play the full game. How dare they get me so excited. So there you have it. It looks like I'm not the only Ewok to think that we're back. And I too cannot wait for more Battlefield 6. I'm Traumatized Ewok, and if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed this first episode of Let's Talk. And be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on the Battlefield 6 beta and any feedback you might have for this video. If you'd like to catch my live streams, you can do so over on Twitch at twitch.tv/traumatizedewok. Or you can hit the link in the description below. Thanks again, and stay safe.